Charging more money or increasing your pricing or asking for a pay rise. These are scary things. These are scary things for you to be able to do. They're scary things for me to be able to do. And this is a subject I wanted to explore today, because a lot of the times we're worth a lot more than we value ourselves to be. And because we don't estimate ourselves of very high value, we usually don't ask for extra money. We're scared to. There's a number of reasons we might not. We might just enjoy doing the work in general. Whether it's development or design, that's usually what we like to focus on. We don't like to focus too much on the money itself, because when we do that, we might not enjoy the work as much. And because of these reasons, I find that a lot of the time in development and in design, people don't like to ask for more money. And this is something that isn't a great thing to do, because you're limiting yourself in terms of what you could essentially get. There's so much potential out there for people. There's so much value that we create in development and design. And yet, because of this undervaluing, we're putting it out there for really cheap. And I wanted to talk about different ways we can increase our pricing and how we can be confident about that. I wanted to give you guys a bit of a personal example of when I was starting out in development. I wasn't too sure about myself, and when I started doing a bit of freelancing, then I essentially was putting myself out there for the absolute minimum that I knew people would accept. And this meant that sometimes I even was working for free just so that I could legitimize myself, so that I get that feeling that people actually appreciate the work I do. And this was a bit of a trap, because for years I trapped myself into never increasing my pricing at the absolute minimum. And this meant that for a long time I was doing my best work for almost no money whatsoever. And after a while I did get a little bit fed up with this, and instead of increasing my pricing, I just started working for a company instead. And I was really surprised when I did, because when I started working for a company, I actually got a much higher salary than I thought I was worth. And this was another trap I fell into. From this experience, I thought I couldn't ask for another pay rise, because I thought I was already earning more than the value I was producing. But I was wrong. I was producing better value. I just didn't know it. And because of this, for the next 4 or 5 years, I never asked for a pay rise again. And I trapped myself into that limited threshold of money. And I didn't think too much about the money, because I really enjoyed development and I really enjoyed design. But now that I've got a family, I could have had more money to give to my kids, or essentially make sure that I have planned for my future. And this is something I didn't think about in the past, but now if I could go back and give myself advice, there's a couple of things I would say, and hopefully this advice will help you guys too. The first one is that if you're in a job, don't be scared to ask for a pay rise. It might be scary to think about it because you might be rejected, but there is actually no harm usually in asking. And it's actually a good thing, because then your job will essentially know that you're looking to earn more money or looking for a higher position. Then they can plan for that. There's another aspect to this as well. Usually when you're looking for a pay rise, it can be hard when you've got no justification. So there's another really cool thing you can do. And this is that every single year, when you've got the opportunity, just spend some time looking for a new job. You don't have to take it necessarily, but what you want to do is you want to push the boundaries of the salary expectations for that job that might be in a similar category to what you have now. You want to apply to a job that might be charging maybe $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more. That way, if you do get that job, and you might not, but it doesn't matter. The main point is to apply, and if you do get it, you'll be able to have 2 choices then. You'll be able to choose whether you move to a new position. Maybe you're learning some new skills, or maybe not. Maybe you're in the same position, but more responsibilities. But you'll have a higher salary. And even if you decide not to take that, you'll also have the choice to bring that back to your current company and use that as a leveraging point to justify why you're worth more. Because by doing so, you've now proven that another company is willing to pay extra for your skills, and you've got a better recognition of your value. In terms of freelancing, there's a lot of things to consider when you're pricing, because a lot of the times there's a certain budget that clients have, but the problem with that is that they never tell you this. They usually like you to throw out a figure of what you're worth. And when you do this, then you end up essentially usually undervaluing yourself. And this is a tricky thing because the value you're providing, there's no real technical price behind it besides the hours that you put in. So it's really what you're valuing yourself at. And a lot of the times because of this, people love to play in that really small, safe range of where they accept work. That's what I essentially was doing when I was doing freelancing. And what I found was that by doing this, I never actually increased my pricing properly. And I always continued working in that low threshold, and I couldn't really grow my freelancing in general. And when it came down to a year down the road, when I didn't feel like I had improved very much, I thought that because of this fact, I shouldn't be charging anymore. It didn't matter that I had more clients, it didn't matter that I had more work, and really I was doing better work, I just did not realize it. In my mind, I felt that I still wasn't very good, and this is one of those things that people usually get into with imposter syndrome, for example, where you just don't believe that you're adequate. And because of that, you don't ask for those things like pay rises, you don't try to charge more money. And this leads to you trying to work harder for essentially less money in general, because you'll be working more, but you won't be billing higher. So what is a really good tip for freelancing is if you're in a safe place, maybe if you're not starting out, but you're sort of settled in there, then try and push the boundaries of your quotes in the future. It might be a little bit risky, but having that little bit of risk where you're charging more and you're not sure if it'll be accepted or not is the best way to grow. It also means that you'll be able to spend more time and provide better value if you do get higher accepted quotes. It means that in the future, you don't have to worry too much about your salary, and you can play around with how much work you're doing in general so that you can produce better work in general too. So these are the things that I usually like to do in terms of a job and in terms of freelancing for getting better salary. But there's other options out there too. There's the option of doing courses to get money. And a lot of the times people give away courses for free, or sometimes they do them at the absolute minimum. And courses are hard things to be able to price. This is something that I'm looking at now as well. I know that when I went to university, then I was paying through the roof for essentially paying for the course that I was learning in IT. And that computer science degree didn't help me very much. And yet now I'm willing to pay only a few $100s on Egghead.io, and I think the value of that is much higher. And now there's independent instructors out there as well. There's great people like Fireship.io, and I might link a couple in the description below that do really good courses on React and HTML. But now I see the value of that, and honestly, a lot of these courses I feel are also underpriced. I think the value of them is much higher, and a lot of people are even undervaluing themselves in that too. And these are things that are pretty important to me. I think that people need to value and appreciate the work they do. It doesn't just matter that you really love the work you do. You should really be you should be able to acknowledge that with a number that one day you'll be able to justify it for yourself and show off to your family by being able to provide better for them. If you go to another job, one of the questions they usually like to ask is, what's your current salary? And this is a tough one. Sometimes I like to tell them, but more recently I've tried not to tell people, because this means that by having a look at the current places that I'm working at, when they take a look at my current skill set, then give me a number that they think I'm worth. This is a better estimation of what even I would have thought. And usually the numbers that come back are usually much higher than I would have thought. And this is now the way that I always apply for jobs. It's asking other people to validify what I'm worth. And it's because I don't really appreciate the kind of value that I might be doing, and I don't really appreciate my own worth. And I think a lot of people don't. In my field, I'm doing a lot of WordPress. And sure, it's not React applications, it's not building out cool infrastructure, it's just basic WordPress websites with, I don't know, small to medium businesses. It doesn't seem like much, but it's worth a lot to those businesses, and they're willing to pay top dollar for a site that works for them. Over the year, I make maybe 50 websites, maybe 100, and that value is a large amount. It's a huge amount. The amount that I get back from that as a salary is only a fraction. but that fraction already is enough to support me and my family, so I'm pretty happy about it. But let me tell you that every year that I get an opportunity, I do ask for a pay rise. Every year that I get a chance, I try to increase the pricing that I put for clients to make sure that in the future I can do better work for them because I have more time and more money to play around with. And this means that I feel like I'm growing every year as a developer, and I want you guys to be able to do the same. Anyway, these are my thoughts on pricing in development and design. It's an important thing to me because I think that pricing needs to be upped a little bit in development and design. I feel that a lot of us are undercharging, we're undervaluing what we're worth, and I think we should value ourselves more. My name's Adrian and I do videos around design and development. So if you guys do like this kind of content and you want to see more like it, hit like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.